The story begins with a man who appeared completely ordinary, but hid a darkness almost impossible to comprehend. We'll call him Adrian Keller. Adrian wasn't impulsive, he was patient, calculated, and deeply disturbing. For years, he managed to lure young men into his apartment. His method was simple but effective, drugging their drinks. Once they lost consciousness, everything was under his control. But what came next was even more horrifying. After killing his victims, Adrian would carefully dismember their bodies. He kept parts as trophies, skulls, hands, even more personal remains. Some he preserved, others, he consumed. Yes, his obsession crossed every imaginable boundary: necrophilia, cannibalism, and something even more disturbing. He attempted to create what he called permanent companions. Using crude tools and dangerous chemicals, he tried to put some victims into a zombie-like state, believing he could keep them alive but completely under his control. He failed. Every time, his reign of terror ended only because one victim managed to escape. That single mistake destroyed everything. But Adrian wasn't the only one. Decades earlier, in a fog-covered city filled with poverty and fear, another figure emerged, one who was never identified. We'll call him the Whitebridge Cutter. In 1888, bodies of women began appearing in a neglected district. All of them shared one thing: they were vulnerable, forgotten by society. What made this killer different wasn't just the murders. It was how they were done. The cuts were precise, almost surgical. Organs were removed with disturbing accuracy, leading many to believe this wasn't just a killer, but someone with advanced knowledge. Rumors spread rapidly. Some said he was a doctor. Others believed he wasn't even human. In a time without social media, fear traveled through whispers and newspapers. Each story became more terrifying than the last. And to this day, no one knows who he really was. Then there was someone entirely different. Charming, intelligent, well-spoken. We'll call him Daniel Brooks. Daniel could earn someone's trust within minutes. He pretended to be injured, using crutches or bandages to gain sympathy. And it worked. For years, he targeted young women, using manipulation to bring them close. Once they were within reach, he attacked. But the most disturbing part wasn't the killing. It was what came after. Daniel would return to the crime scenes. Not out of guilt, but desire. He kept physical reminders of his victims, body parts, personal items. He lived a perfect double life. No one suspected the friendly man he appeared to be, until his arrogance led to mistakes. And eventually, he was caught. Another case stands out for a completely different reason. We'll call him the Black Zodiac Player. Unlike others, he didn't just kill. He performed. He sent letters to the police and media, describing his crimes in detail, adding cryptic codes that challenged authorities to uncover his identity. To him, it was a game. He targeted young couples in isolated areas, carefully planning each attack before disappearing without a trace. Every message was a taunt. Every crime, a move on a chessboard. He claimed dozens of victims. But officially, only a few could be confirmed. And the most unsettling part, he was never caught. Then comes the case of the Shadow Clown, whose real name we'll call Michael Carver. By day, he entertained children at community events. By night, he became something else entirely. He lured young men with promises of work. Once inside his home, he subjected them to horrific acts before killing them. He buried the bodies beneath his own house. For years, no one suspected anything. Until the disappearances, and the smell, became impossible to ignore. When authorities finally searched his property, they uncovered the truth. Dozens of victims, hidden beneath the floor. There was also a man who didn't need to kill with his own hands. We'll call him Samuel Vane. He was a cult leader. Charismatic, manipulative, dangerous. He convinced others to commit murder for him. He spoke of chaos, war, and destiny. His followers saw him as something more than human. In 1969, he ordered a series of brutal killings. The victims were carefully chosen. Messages were written in blood to mislead authorities and shift blame. He never physically committed the murders. But he orchestrated everything, and for that, he was sentenced. Because sometimes, the mind behind the crime is more dangerous than the act itself. One of the most disturbing cases involves the Plainridge farmer, known here as Elias Crow. He lived alone, isolated, deeply attached to his deceased mother. After her death, something inside him broke. He began exhuming bodies from graves. Not to steal, but to create. He made objects from human skin. Decorated his home with remains. He lived inside his own nightmare. Eventually, he turned to murder for fresh material. When authorities entered his home, they couldn't believe what they saw. This wasn't just a killer. It was something far more twisted. Then there's the Night Stalker, here called Raul Serrano. He broke into homes at night. He didn't just kill, he tortured. His crimes involved extreme violence, psychological terror, and disturbing rituals. Symbols were often left behind. An entire city lived in fear. No one felt safe. But his capture didn't come from police work alone. It came from the people. Residents recognized him, chased him down, and held him until authorities arrived. Even during his trial, he showed no remorse. He smiled, mocked the victims, as if it was all just a performance. Finally, one of the most prolific of them all. We'll call him Viktor Malenko, the Rostovia predator. For years, he targeted the most vulnerable, children, women, the desperate. He approached them in public places, offering help, money, or food. Then led them to isolated locations. What followed was pure brutality. For over a decade, he avoided capture. Not because he was a genius, but because the system failed. When he was finally arrested, he confessed. Without hesitation, without remorse, he described the acts in chilling detail, even admitting the satisfaction he felt.